Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network from magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Thursday on the iNetrepreneur Network. I am Robert W. Jones, founder of Art of Connection and the iNetrepreneur Network, and I'm glad that you are here with us today. There are so many things going on in and around the iNetrepreneur Network neighborhood that, like I like to share. So I'd like to do a little bit of housekeeping before I get on with our guests today. One of the main things that I'm just so excited about is the Art of Connection Summit. It's coming up next week, everyone. Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. Again, that's Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. We have the Art of Connection Virtual Global Summit. We have over 100 attendees already registered to come to this wonderful event where business owners, speakers, authors, influencers, entrepreneurs, business owners, etc., come to meet, hang out, have some fun, make some connections, and even do a little bit of business. Again, this is next week. You can go to artofconnectionsummit.com. That's artofconnectionsummit.com for more information and to sign up and to get your tickets. And for a limited time, you can put an ART, that's art. Go ahead and put it into the Eventbrite online booking system. Use that ticket code right there, art, and get your free Art of Connection Summit ticket and save that $20. But we'd love to have you there. It's our signature event of the year, and let's just have some fun and get some connecting going on. I also am excited that our forthcoming #1 international best-selling book in the series, The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Gratitude Quotes.com. We are looking for you. We're looking for authors to come into this new next book in the Art of Connection series. The 3 books so far, if you tally all the achievements, have achieved over 100 international #1 best-selling markers. We're in Barnes & Noble, we're in Goodreads, we're in Amazon, and we start popping up in all these other websites and places where the book is sold. So, get your name out there, be a part of a wonderful family called the Art of Connection community, be a part of the Art of Connection movement. And again, meet some great and wonderful people, and who knows, they may be your next connection, next client, next mentor, etc. It's a great place to meet people who are tethered with a heart-centered, like-minded, outlook or construct, which I think is amazing. Also, don't forget ntevents.net. That's ntevents.net, where you can go to our 1,000 networking meetings, academy classes, pop-up events, summits, and so much more. So that's ntevents.net. The NT is for the old organization name called Network Together, because it's so much better to network together than it is apart. Also, like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. You can also go to our magazine site, and subscribe to the iNetrepreneur Network magazine, and also our newest magazine, The Contemporary Women, a magazine, open and out there. I don't know, my wife says it's like a combination of a couple of different magazines, but my wife knows better than that. Talk to Sean about that. So I'm really excited about today's guests, so I'm going to go ahead and bring them on and into the room. And my first guest today is the amazing, incomparable Mr. Buddy Thornton. How are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, Robert. I really appreciate you having me on the show today.
I appreciate you being here, buddy. There are some people in life, I like to say, the more that you meet them, the more you try to run away from them. And then there's other people in life, the more you meet them, the more you want to run towards them. And you tend to be one of the people I love to run towards, because every time I listen to you, I just think about the fountain of information that you have and you can impart on others. And you do it in such a thoughtful and peaceful, easy and complimentary manner. And I really mean that. You never come across as a know-it-all, but you come across as knowing so much. And that's what I appreciate about you, is how you're able to engage with people at any level when you meet them. And kind of my first question today is, really, where did you, end up learning that type of skill? Because not everyone has that.
Well, there's actually two sources, I think. Number one was my mother was a real taskmaster at really being polite to people and being considerate to people. And a very young age, at age 11, I started doing speaking from stages. I was in oratorical contests, and my speaking mentor was a Dr. Cadingo in Texas, and he taught me that the best thing you could ever do is understand your audience and then be human in front of your audience. And I just adopted that in my early teens, and it's carried forward. And I'm almost 70, and it's still here.
Yeah, and and you really do radiate that, buddy, and that's what I really appreciate about you. And in the Entrepreneur Network, in our community, we have some of our members are in their late teens, and some of our members are in the 80s. And you seem to be able to speak at any language to any generation. And I always love that about you. But I think what my place in my heart that really resonates with me is, looking back at your history, and you're a veteran. I want to thank you for your service. You were a corpsman in the Vietnam era. Tell us a little bit about what life was like as a corpsman in the Vietnam era, and maybe some of the things that you learned from that time frame that you apply today.
I think the most important thing I learned was everything can change in an instant. You were a Marine, so I definitely want to thank you for your service as well. And
Thank you, buddy.
I spent a lot of time with Second Force troops, and those guys could be with you today and they could be gone tomorrow. And so you had to live your life as if it was going to last forever, but you had to live each day as if it was going to be your last day. So why would you ever want to live your life being angry, being rude, being inconsiderate? So, it's a mantra you have to pick up is, if I was gone tomorrow, what's going to be the last image that person's going to have of me? And that's something that era really pressed on all of us, especially because there was a lot of angst and a lot of anger going on in the Vietnam period.
And one of the things that I think that I learned from, being in the military myself, and I was in from 83 to 89, is there's something called esprit de corps. And, in my thinking about esprit de corps, it really is a timeless concept of, the spirit of the corps. And when I look at that's really all about team. And when I talk about entrepreneurship, no one person can do it all. Whether you're the CEO or you're in mid-management or you're just coming on, into a company, it's all about team. And for me, I learned a lot about team in the military. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about esprit de corps in your own framework and how you utilize that when you're helping people build their businesses.
When I'm working with entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, I try to explain to them that, business can go up and down, it can come and go, and money can always be earned, but relationships and trust cannot be earned, unless you really work hard at it. And then once you do earn it, it doesn't take much to lose it. So you really need to think of everybody as being part of the inner circle of what you need in your life. When I was in the military, the most powerful people we dealt with were the senior chiefs and the gunny sergeants. The senior chiefs in the Navy and the gunny sergeants in the Marine Corps, they ran the show.
Yeah.
The officers, they were window dressing. If they needed something done, they would call somebody. Now, I was a petty officer before I got out, and there were guys who were 10, 12, 15 years older than me. And when I asked them to do something, it was an order. But I did not tell them. I asked them because I knew the weight of authority was behind me. And so I let that bleed out into everything I do with clients, with partners, with affiliates. You got to treat everybody with respect and say, I believe this is the best course of action. Let's consider going this way. It comes across much better than just telling people what to do and then expecting them to just fall in line.
You know, and it really is interesting because when I was in the military, sometimes you didn't always agree with your chain of command. You didn't always agree with everyone around you, but at the end of the day, you respected the billet, you respected the office, you expected, the role that they played in there, and you diligently performed to the best of your ability in spite of everything, whether it be, outside circumstances or inside circumstances, and what I'm really getting at is, I believe that we were trained to deal with something called adversity. And in many ways, we would run towards that adversity. And that's where true growth comes from. In sometimes with entrepreneurs nowadays, they, I call it sometimes PhD disease, or I call it, having the world's greatest ideas, or I call it, knowing everything when you haven't proven anything. And so much of the time, entrepreneurs today, they really don't have the concept of what it is to go through adversity to grow and have gratitude. What are your feelings on adversity, buddy?
I believe that there's no such thing as growth without uh, fighting your way through barriers. Adversity is a barrier that every human has to face, and the ones who fail are the ones who try to go under them, over them, or around them instead of through them.
Mhm.
So, I'm a conflict management professional. That's what my doctorate is in. And I believe that you address conflict head on. I believe that there are obviously nuances to anybody's conflict. But if you're not willing to address the conflict and then learn, you're not going to be able to proceed. You're not going to grow. You can't evolve. We had a saying when I was on the PBA tour: you either win or you learn. The only way you lose is if you quit and go home. So, adversity, that's not a bad thing. It's actually your best friend, because once you've worked your way through something, you can do it again and again and again.
you know and I was going to bring that up as well. After you retired, or you ended your involvement with being in the Navy, you actually got on the tour and became a professional bowler. And a lot of people look at bowling, maybe differently. It's all about technique. It's all about the head game. It's all about challenging yourself. But to actually get to be in the PBA on tour, I mean, I think a lot of it really is it really is the mental slash physical game, of getting out there and becoming great. And just like you have ebbs and flows in business, you probably, out on tour, probably have ebbs and flows of success. And probably some of those things, help you with today's entrepreneurs, and even in today's mediation, that we all go through these ebbs and flows, and it shouldn't be something that triggers us. It should be something that we're learning lessons from. Tell us a little bit about what life was like on the PBA tour, and when you went into that funk, how did you get out of that to achieve your ultimate success again and again and again?
Well, I never went through any of my time on the PBA tour without a coach. And the other part of that is that, you have to realize within the environment of what you're participating in. And of course, it was bowling. It's a very analytical game. It's a very, very, it depends on physics, it depends on physicality, and it depends on, like you said, the head game. The head game is probably, once you get to a certain level, the differentiator between winners and losers is a winner has to be willing to lose to get out on the edge to win. The guys
Yeah.
who play it safe, the guys who don't try, they're like, oh, no, no, I'm going to stick with what I'm very happy with, I'm comfortable with. And the other thing is, a lot of people think, well, you know what, if I'm not performing at my absolute optimal best right now, I'm not going to do very well. And my rule of thumb is, you need to do the absolute best you can in the day that you're living in. You are not always going to be 100% or better physically, but you can have absolutely no excuse whatsoever for not putting out 100% effort.
Yeah. I mean, and I can imagine that there's a lot of pressure being on tour and going through the mental mind games. But there's also relationships that come about that. And even though that you have rivals, sometimes even though you're competing with your rivals, you're also kind of completing with your rivals too, because again, there is a certain camaraderie where a certain amount of your rivals actually, you do cheer each other on for greatness, don't you?
Yeah, I want to share a very, very short story, but I had a person who's also a pro here in the Phoenix metro area that I competed with for like 10 years. And we were always button heads all the time. And he would beat me, and then I would beat him. And we were at a tournament in Las Vegas, and I was a little bit behind. I was trying to rush into the stadium so I could get into the paddock area and get prepared. And he stopped me at the door and he said, "You need to go back and get your belt." And I said, "Oh, I forgot my belt." He goes, "Yeah, that's a $500 fine. You don't want to forget your belt." Now, this is a guy that I've been competing with for years and years and years. But the brotherhood of being professional first and being part of a collective second and being a competitor third was more important to him than whether he was going to let me just walk through the door and lose 500 bucks. So, it is all about team. You can compete at the absolute highest level, but if you don't have the ability to step and say, okay, today I'm not the guy up on the pedestal, I'm going to applaud his performance. Tomorrow when I'm up on the pedestal, he'll applaud mine. That's the mindset of champion.
Yeah, and I agree so much with that. In San Diego, I used to put on events, and they were actually called "What does the mindset of a champion look like?" And we came with 4 key areas, which I won't bore you with today. But the first and foremost one was always having the mental outlook that you always can see yourself on that podium as a champion. That was a part of it. It was having the ability to see yourself where you want to be, and I think that that's really important, for people. Which gets us to another place that I have a lot of joy with, buddy. And you and I, we both like to talk. We both like to read. We both like to share stories. And what I love is you're a part of this concept called the art of connection. And you've seen it in your short time go from a networking concept to an inspirational, transformational, and now a gratitude concept. And I wanted to read your quote from the third book in the series, 365 Days of Transformational Quotes. And in this quote, you have, "Life is easy." You say, "Aspire to be your optimal self for yourself. It is your life. Ignore the trolls." And I thought about that quote, and I thought, man, that quote sounds so familiar to me in a certain way. And my uncle had a quote, and he used to tell me, he's like, "Rob, life is only as hard as you're going to make it. Learn from other people's mistakes and don't make all those mistakes yourself." And and then here is another way of it. Ignore those trolls. Tell me what you mean by that, buddy, and tell me why you can see that life can be easy.
Well, I think the first thing that I focus on is choice dynamics, which is a program I teach. And in choice dynamics, it's an offshoot of choice theory by Dr. William Glasser. And in that, you control yourself, your actions, your feelings, your emotions, and your desires, and you do not control anybody else. So why would you look at anybody else to make your choices from? So you ignore everybody else, but especially the trolls, the people who are saying, "Oh, you're not anybody," or "Oh, you haven't accomplished anything." You know what? You have. Just by actually showing up, you've already accomplished more than most people will on a given day. And I want everybody to understand that if someone is nagging at you or someone's a naysayer, you know what? They're just a troll. Put them back in the cave. Leave them there. Who cares?
I'm typing that in for our audience, buddy, just show up. I mean it. That really is sometimes even 90% of the mental battle is just getting out. And at this next event, we have the Art of Connection Summit. I talked about it at the beginning of the show. You're going to be one of our panelist speakers at the event, buddy. Are you excited about that?
Oh yeah. First of all, I love being able to see all the people who are willing to get out there and they're willing to share their expertise, and also the people who are coming to, even if they just get a little tidbit and you actually make the difference for one person on that given day, it's worth your time. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm really, really thrilled that you guys invited me to be on one of the panels, and I just don't want to, rain on anybody's parade. I think everybody ought to jump right in and come and listen to what we have to say, because I think the other people on my panel especially are extremely well spoken, and they're peers I respect.
Yeah, I think you have a great panel, and much of your panel we're going to talk about the interpersonal dynamics of communication, and I gave a talk at the Mesa chapter, and we were talking about what does communication look like, and I said, if you're really talking about true sales, the art of sales, it really is conveying communication in such a way that both sides understand, because it takes both sides to create down or up to that transaction. And I think that sales in our society has become, a dirty word, but I think dirty sales is making it a dirty word, but good sales, is very meaningful to the people who need to be sold, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's really funny you say that, because even back in the 60s and 70s, sales was a dirty word. I think the evolution of sales is that people have to understand that you're really, really gung ho, you're really aggressive, and then you realize that the only thing you have to sell is A, trust, B, the value proposition, and C, do you meet their need? And you've got to be able to communicate all three of those things during your conversation. So why would you do anything but focus on those three things? Build a relationship, which gets you the trust, and everything else, again, is easy.
Yeah, and that conveyance, that trust, the value, and here's the thing, you know, you know, needs can also be not just needs right in the moment, but maybe needs that you may not have known because it only became a need in future value. And I say this because when I was at business school, um, the professor was talking about the first time video cameras came out, and but the salesperson did such a poor job explaining the power of what a video camera was. The professor didn't buy the video camera, and then all of a sudden, 10 years went by, and he was kicking himself because he didn't understand that his need set also changed. He wanted to see little Johnny, playing in the bathtub for the first time, kicking the ball for the first time, going to the park, and riding on a horse for the first time. That could have been done in video, but because the salesperson didn't convey such a way that the professor saw the value of future needs as well, the professor didn't buy that video camera. And that's one of the things that he talks about, because it's not just needs right now, and your needs can actually change in 3, 5, and 10 years time. And sometimes I think we need to be cognizant of that as well when we sell, don't we?
I think the value in selling, especially if you are an experienced person like you and myself, I think what we have to do is we have to look at our entire body of work and say, hey, I'm talking to a guy who's a new entrepreneur. He really doesn't know what he's going to need 5 years from now. He doesn't know what he's going to need 10 years from now. But I have already worked with people who are 10 years in front of him up the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
If I can convey some of that, build trust, and show him, look, you may not need this right now, but you need to be prepared. Start building the building blocks so that when you do need it, you've got it in hand and you know how to use it.
Yeah.
That is a bigger selling point sometimes than just something right in your face.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore. I want you to kind of pat yourself on the back and just kind of gloat in a proper way, because I love gleaming on this. One of the things I've seen you do, buddy, in less than a year, is you've come out with this amazing book series, and it really is a seed to shelf series, for the human experience. And that is your Slippery Slope book series. Tell our audience a little bit about, the Slippery Slope book series, and why does it matter and mean so much to you, and why should it matter so much to those who would, would read it?
Well, the Slippery Slope series was born out of a lot of the adversity and out of the angst that I went through with my family and with people, peers that I dealt with over the years. And I realized that a lot of people just do not have any clue about human behavior. Everyone has an opinion, but nobody has facts. I didn't want to tell people how to do things, but I did want to show them that the possibilities are infinite. And so I started writing the Slippery Slope series with a book on ethics and then a book on morals because I wanted to set a foundation. My third and fourth books are education books. And then books 5 through 12 are different varieties of choice-making books. And the 12th book is going to talk about relationships, and it's going to build an entire vocabulary around what a relationship looks like, which will lead to my second set of 12 books, which will all be about relationships, the different types of relationships. A book detailing business relationships, a book detailing social relationships, intimate relationships, you name it. I've been married almost 50 years. I'm a great grandfather. I have lots of kids below me. So I think, if nothing else, the experience alone will make for some pretty interesting stories.
Well, and you speak of relationships, and you and I talk about this a lot. Relationships can be beautiful, but they can also be hostile. And I think that that's where you have a gift of coming in and, creating a place to help, and, maybe like I said, not do away with the adversity of a certain situation, but to do away with the conflict that the adversity creates. Tell us a little bit about your training as a conflict revolutionist. I want to call you that, or a mediator. I guess that's the technical name. And why is that so important for people and business owners?
Well, yeah, a lot of people get that wrong. They think mediators are just for divorce court and what have you, but they don't understand that the big high level mediators are all dealing with corporate mediation or high level, very, very intense, multi-million-dollar types of conflict. Well, I'm a family conflict mediator. I believe that you have to deal with the conflict in front of you. And if you don't understand the conflict, you need someone who will come in as a complete third-party neutral and help you align with what you don't know. And a lot of times it's just taking the perspective of the other person. That's a lot of our training, is how to teach people to look at both sides so that they can get where they're going, and then basically take them by the hand and get them there. Mediators, there's a lot of different types of mediators. I'm a narrative type mediator. I get people to tell their story, and then I get people to listen to and live the other story, so that once they can see more than one perspective about the story, all of a sudden now their empathy kicks in and allows them to lower the temperature of the room. Even if it doesn't get rid of the conflict, it makes it more livable.
Well, and we like to, in our society, compartmentalize so much. Well, this is business, and this is community, and this may be the religious box, and this may be the family box, and this is the self box. But quite frankly, I mean, that energy flows into every box. And so if you have a conflict in one, I mean, it does affect those other boxes, doesn't it?
No matter where you have conflict, you cannot just set it on a shelf and leave it alone. It's gonna eat into you, especially if you haven't learned to let it go. If you haven't learned to understand what your contribution is to the conflict, and you can't fix that within yourself, then everything that you do is going to be colored with that little gray area behind you that's saying, you still got this to solve, you still have this to work on. And the more you take away from what's in front of you to worry about some conflict that's in another room, the less competent you are, the less capable you are. And to be frank, you are going to eventually come to a grinding halt.
And it's really amazes me that there are certain phrases, I think, that are harder to say than any other phrases. For some people, it's thank you. For some people, it's I'm sorry. And for some people, it's just letting go. Letting go sometimes is the hardest thing a person can ever do, and it might be that they're trained not to let go, and or it might be that they just hold on so much. It could be a personality type, it could be their behavioral style, etc. It could be so many things. But when you work with people, buddy, how do you help them do that, get over that crazy phrase of letting go? Because I've seen that destroy businesses and families and relationships time and time again because they can't let go.
The first thing I do is I take them on a very, very slow moving journey through choice dynamics. And I get them to understand that they don't have the right as one human being to control the actions or choices of another human being. And once I get them to understand the importance of not being able to control other people, then I can tell them, okay, now, if you can only control yourself, what would be the one thing you would do that would allow you to move on from this place? And I allow them to build coping mechanisms so that they can A, forgive themselves for anything they might have contributed, B, understand that they don't have the right to even demand an apology or expect an apology. And once they get to that calm place, now the best thing they can do is say, okay, what's in front of me? And then they can just let it go. It's amazing how you just see the change just melt away. Once people get to that place where they understand you don't have the right to do something, if you take the right away, then the power of that right leaves with you.
Yeah. Well, we're getting to the end of the segment, and so just a couple last questions. Just what type of client are you looking for now? And then along with that, I'm going to scroll your information across the screen, and just how can people get a hold of you, buddy? So what clients are you looking for now? What is your optimal client? What does that look like?
Well, on the entrepreneur side, my optimal client is someone who's having difficulty with staff or a partner, internal conflict, because internal conflict absolutely can destroy a company. And then on the family side, any parent who's having a difficult time with a teen. I've been doing this for 11 years. My company's been very, very successful. We have a very high proficiency rate. And I love working with businesses and saving businesses because that's the lifeblood of our nation. And I love helping parents learn how to deal with their teens because that's the lifeblood of society. So you can get a hold of me by email, buddypscapro at gmail.com, or you can call me at my number on the screen, 480-861-1371. And if I don't answer, I'm either with a client or I might be sleeping. Just leave me a detailed voicemail. I will get back a hold of you, as you know very well, Robert.
You bet. Everyone, I'm here with Buddy Thornton. He's a speaker, author, mentor, and owner of BCT Mediations PLUS. Contact him at Buddy's, what is that? CA Pro, Buddy's CA Pro at gmail.com, or call him at 480-861-1371. Buddy, thank you so much for being on the show today. If you're in the Phoenix area, Buddy many times goes to our Scottsdale chapter. We meet off of Talking Stick at Babbo Italian Eatery. Please come see him in person. He's a treat. He'd love to sit down and just have I call it like the fireside chat with Buddy. Buddy, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day.
I appreciate it, Robert, and you have a blessed day too.
Thank you, buddy. Again, I want to thank Buddy Thornton for being on the show today. An amazing man. And I said it at the beginning of his segment. He is a fountain of information, and he has a golden heart that is here to help any entrepreneur or anyone that's in family conflict, overcome that conflict and find them their best selves. Speaking of best selves, I'm so excited to have Reverend Joanne Angel BarryColon on the show today. She has a very, very, very special place in my heart, as she it also works with me to overcome my delimiting thoughts and to keep me, to not keep me from my greatness, but to get me to my greatness. And Angel, I just really appreciate you, and I'm glad you're on the show here today with us. And I'm excited. How are you doing?
I'm just excited as you, and I love the fact that you call me Angel. One day I'm going to just change my whole name and just call myself Angel. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome again, everyone. I am here, and see, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it the right way, okay? The Reverend Joanne Angel BarryColon. She is here with me today on the show. She is a speaker, an international best-selling author. Through the Art of Connection and more, an intuitive healer and owner of Wholistic Fitness. You can contact her at healingwithin76@gmail.com or call her at 646-236-9155 for more information. And Angel, it's been really good to hear Buddy Thornton come in and listen to him talk about conflict, both internal and with other people and within business. And one of the spaces that you really work and your gift place in is helping people see their higher selves. And one of your belief is that people are all in their higher selves. It's us who keep us from that higher self. Tell us a little bit about your philosophy, and how you came to see this.
Well, well, my philosophy is very simple. We're all working towards thinking we need to be in our higher self or the best version of who we are, whereas in reality we are actually there. Because when we think about the whole concept of now, there is no such thing as yesterday, and there's no such thing as tomorrow. So right here, right now, we are in our best self, and we are the best version of who we can ever be, is our best self.
But that, like when you hear it, for the first time, and I know certainly it was that way with me, it just didn't make sense. Like how can now be the only time? I mean, but I was 3 years old at one time. I'm going to be 130, because I just take the right, vitamins and stuff like that. How can you say to people that there's only the now and I should be living in my best self, when so many people say, I have to get there because I've been taught all my life I'm not there, and I'm supposed to be heading towards this perfection that may never come. It gets very frustrating if we don't understand that. How do you explain that to someone who may hear this for the first time?
Well, to start off with, stop listening to what people tell you. That's to start off with. Secondly, it is really a matter of just what it is you tell yourself in regards to whatever it is you're striving for. So if you are striving to be a better version of yourself tomorrow, you're literally missing out on the better version of yourself right now, because you're so involved in what's going to be for tomorrow. How can you perfect yourself for tomorrow when you're not even focused on perfecting yourself for right now? And if we can just stay in that space of, yes, we've all experienced as children different criticisms in regards to maybe we didn't do it the best way, or we could have done it better, whatever it was. But we have right now to focus on, as opposed to constantly holding on to the baggage of all the things we've been told as a child. And I believe Buddy said it earlier too. It's learning to let go. You said it as well. Learning to let go in regards to that forgiveness of all the different things that we might have heard as children, of not being the best version, not being better, not being as good as you could have been, striving to do better the next time, and forgiving ourselves and forgiving those who might have said that, and being in that space of just letting go of the expectations to what we think we should show up as, and show up as the best way you know how to show up. And there isn't really any wrong way of showing up. And like, before I came on today, to have this conversation, I sat with my guides and I said, I want to be able to present whatever needs to be said that the audience needs to hear. So there's no scripture. It's whatever needs to be said that the
Well,
audience needs to hear for today.
and as I'm thinking about this and as you're framing it, and if I'm telling myself, don't wait till tomorrow, but do it now, you're effectively telling me whatever I need or want or desire or do, that change can happen instantaneously. There is no wait for change, is there?
Exactly. I mean, you can literally, the minute you change your perception of whatever it is you think you're doing or need to do it better, the minute you can visualize yourself in that space of you already doing it better, you've done it better. You're already there.
Mm.
You don't have to wait a day or 3 days or 3 years to be that better version. Minute you can focus and see yourself as that, it's happening right now.
I know. I just tell you, and it's really funny because you and I both see. I mean, it's like I see some people, and they're like that vehicle that's in the mud, and everything takes so much effort, and they're using so much power, and they're getting nowhere effectively. That change comes hard, and then you start. You see other people around you, and it's like they're just gliding on skates, and it's like the wind's behind their back and they're going on. And I think the only difference between the two sometimes is one person allows them to be free of what holds them back, and the other one anchors themselves to what holds them back. Why do we do this to ourselves, Angel?
Well, I think it's the matter of focus, what we are focused on. I mean, the one who is flowing through is focused on flowing. The one
Hmm.
who's focused on everything being challenging and, oh my God, this is so hard, that's what they're focused on. And I like to say, and I say this a lot to many clients, what we focus on is what becomes our reality, because that's all we're focused on. So if we're only thinking of it being hard, then, as I refer to, universe is going to show you in your reality that things are hard. If you focus on it's going to flow, it's going to be effortless, it's going to be magical, it's going to be powerful, the universe has to present everything of what you just focused on, and it becomes your reality.
Well, I remember you and I working on this some time back, and this is what was really beautiful. And part of it was, and it's almost like that ship. You're going in the right direction. You're going in the right direction, but all of a sudden, if you get just a tad bit of a degree off, a half a degree off, if you travel miles, all of a sudden you're hundreds of miles off course. And I remember you were talking about, to me, don't concentrate. And this was in business, everyone. This was in business. This works for business. It's just not for self. It's just not for family. If you concentrate on what happened, it's going to be markedly different than if you start concentrating on, Robert, on what you want or what will happen. And then all of a sudden, my creative energy, my focus, was looking out forward instead of looking in the rearview mirror, trying to correct what's already been done. And I think that happens a lot with people in life. And, the reason why they're not moving forward, because it's hard to drive a car if you're looking behind you all the time, isn't it?
That is very true. I mean, unfortunately, we can't go back in time and change what has happened, as people call it, the mistakes. But we can turn around and reflect on what has happened and learn from it so you can improve going forward and
Yeah.
be in that moment of how you want whatever it is to go for you. It's again that focus. You get to create what it is you want your end result to be. And if you want your end result to be successful, then focus on success. If you want your end result to be challenging, rough, this doesn't work for me, then focus on that, because you will create whatever it is you focus on.
And things, you're very seasoned in what you do. Probably over 30 years of being an intuitive healer, of knowing your gifts and embracing them and allowing those gifts to flow to the world. But recently, you had your own challenges. I mean, and there's quite an ego blow. So I've had to go through these ego blows too at times. You had a brick and mortar place of business, and I'm sure you kind of had to count the cost on moving forward or staying stuck, and you shuttered the doors of your business after 21 years. Tell us a little bit about how you had to work through that process, because that probably wasn't the easiest to do, was it?
No. And to be really transparent about it, I am still working through that process. But where I am now and where I was, there was a lot of, I'm going to use a few words such as analytical thinking, critical thinking, over-evaluating, and really sitting in that thought process of, okay, so what am I going to do if I continue to stay with my storefront?
Yeah.
And what am I going to do if I make that decision to close it and move forward? Because theoretically, staying where I was in the storefront, as you said, I was stuck. I was literally stuck because nothing was flowing. And no matter what it was that I did in my mind, the visualization of like, okay, this is how I want it to be. And it sounds very contradicting to what I was just saying, but it was based on the general, I speak a lot on energy. It was based on the energy that I was in, based on my natal chart, my numerology. It was all of the energy of where I was. And at that point in time, I had to come to the realization that some of our planets, to name just two of them, Pluto and Saturn, were playing really strong in my chart. Of Pluto's about decay and transformation. Saturn is about our structure. And with those two planets alone, they were playing a really big, strong game of, okay, there's decay here, something has to transform, and the structure has to be broken apart.
Right.
And with knowing that information, it led me to sitting down quietly and having a conversation, as I call my higher power, universe, God, having a conversation, and even my mom, and saying, okay, I'm going to take a leap of faith here and trust that there's a net on the bottom that if I fall, something's going to catch me, because I have no idea where this is going. And to this day, I'm still in that process of really not knowing. And that's a very scary and uncomfortable position for me, because I'm very controlling.
And
Yes.
it's really incredible to me, because the only way I can look at it is even in my life, and I've even had other businesses, and I've had homes, and I look at different things in my life, and um, even something like a place, in its energy becomes just as real sometimes as a person, and it can be just as traumatic, and just as much of a tear, in the spiritual self as a person. And I think that we need to understand this a little bit more, because in a way, if you're in a physical space, or you have physical things, and they were a part of your life for many years, there's a certain amount of your energy, and its energy, that had been tethered for a certain amount of time. And I think that we're still coming to understandings on, what this energy looks like, and really how we need to learn how to flow from it when we evolve on, and what we're attached to hasn't. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. And I think the best word you just used was evolved. And that's exactly what's taking place with me, with my business, is I'm evolving. So I don't necessarily need a physical space to do the work that I do.
Right.
And coming to that realization is interesting but overwhelming at the same, because in my mind I still have that vision of, okay, what it was I was doing and how different it's going to start looking.
Right. In evolve, I think, another concept, we've talked about is, who are we at the end of the day? Who is it that we're trying to impress? Who is it that we actually have an accountability or a responsibility to? And is it ourselves? Is it our is it, our, obligation, or is it our gift, or is it our purpose, to evolve ourselves? And one of the things that you have worked with, me on, and many others, is that, the person in all the equation is you. Tell us a little bit about, what that means to impress yourself.
What that means to impress myself. Well, it's not the easiest thing to impress myself. I mean, right now in
And I believe that, because aren't we so much of the time our own worst critics? And sometimes, we can be so bad at this. We can, we have paralysis that we're so bad with this.
Exactly. And it's one of the things that I'm currently working on learning about myself, is not comparing myself to who I was, let's say, when I was in my 20s and my 30s, in my prime, theoretically, and going right back into that space of being in the now. I am exactly amazing and perfect just as I am right now. And I'm delivering what I need to be delivering in my soul's purpose. I truly believe that I'm so perfectly aligned to what I came here to do. And it's definitely going to look differently than what it's ever looked like. And although this is probably the first time I'm ever actually saying this, I'm going to say it here with you, is I'm actually really proud of myself for all the different transitions that I've experienced over the last 21 years and currently, and really excited to see what the next step is, how this is going to look. And I do know one thing, even though I don't know what it's going to look like, I do know that it is going to be really amazing, because I've been told on many occasions that I'm an ascended master, and that my higher power has given me this amazing gift. So because it's an amazing gift and I was chosen to have this gift, I know it's going to be an amazing journey going forward. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm very excited about it.
I'm looking forward to seeing that unfold as well. And, which leads me to, like, a joyous place for me. And, and you and I got to share in this with each other. And you have two of the books behind you. It's the Art of Connection book series. We've achieved international best-selling status, believe it or not, Angel, over 100 times. This book can be found from Barnes and Noble to Amazon to Goodreads and so many other places out there. And I've been real proud of it, because a lot of people are using this to supplement their journeys and to learn from others, because there's so much great information in these books. And in the third book, which is that beautiful butterfly behind us, 365 Days of Transformational Quotes, you wrote a quote as well. And I just love this one. It said, yesterday's footprints, and there we go, there's that yesterday. Yesterday's footprints lead to tomorrow's path. And through the darkness is where you find the light. I mean, and I love that. Tell us a little bit about that quote in your own words, and why does that matter so much for the world to see your words in this light?
Well, I mean, I think the most important part of it is being okay with being in the darkness, not knowing the answers, not knowing where all the pieces are. Because when we are in the darkness, it gives us an ability to really connect with all of our senses, from being able to feel, being able to see, being able to hear, smell, and touch. And those senses become more activated when we are in dark. And when we are in the darkness is when we allow ourselves to be in the most vulnerable space possible. And that allows us to recognize the footprints that we did leave behind yesterday. And it then also gives us that ability of knowing that once we do begin to see the light, we're transforming, we're moving.
Yeah.
And it's this constant process that we go through. One of the things I've recently learned is that just because I get to see the light doesn't mean I'm not going to get the darkness again. And that's my proven right here, the evidence that here it is in my darkest moment right now, where I know eventually that light's going to start to shine.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm really excited because at the Art of Connection Summit coming up on February 23rd, and again, you can go to summit.com. Use ART, get a free ticket. You don't have to pay the $20 for the event. We want you there. We want everyone there, because on the first panel, it's the holistic panel with a W. We have holistic with a W because we talk about the whole self, in the universal self. You're going to be on that panel participating, and I'm so excited to see you there. But one of the things, I've asked you this before, is, I've heard of personal trainers, but Joanne, you are a holistic personal trainer. And I just want you to kind of go over, what does that mean when you add the word holistic and personal trainer together, and what it means to the clients that utilize you for your services?
Well, when you add that W as a holistic personal trainer, it's about me being able to work with the client on a physical, emotional, mental, and psychological level, where it's not just about me working with the client on their physical, which is what most personal trainers do. Ideally, that's the way personal training is known, is that we work on the physical components of the person. But because we are a whole person, we are our emotions, we are our mindset, we are the psychological components of everything, it's important to bring it all into play, so that when a client is looking for whatever their goal or intention is that they're looking to reach, that they focus on all of those areas and become whole, because we are whole. And if I have it my way, eventually all personal trainers will be working under my process of a holistic personal trainer.
I love that. I'm typing this into the comments area, that we are a whole person, hence holistic. And so I'm putting that out there. Hopefully I spelled it right, everyone. You have so many different talents, Angel, and and I love calling you Angel. I say Joanne every once in a while, but you just are an angel to me. And and what's really amazing is when you're able to work with someone on so many levels, and you raise up one level. What I've noticed, it's kind of like raising the tide, and all ships come up. When you raise that level, everything else comes up. Whether you're working with them emotionally or spiritually or mentally and even physically. I've noticed that, so many times. Releasing things could be releasing weight. It could be releasing head trash. It could be releasing, I'm not worthy enough. It could be releasing, I don't want to be alone. It could be, so many different things. And like Buddy said earlier, and you said it as well, letting go. What is that thing that gets you up in the morning, that creates that vibrancy, for yourself, when you help other people let go, and you see them and they're on that path and they're creating that journey and they're understanding themselves? How does that make you feel, in your day, when you know that you're leading people, in these new journeys?
Knowing that I get to witness every transformation. I get to witness it. I get to support it. I get to hold light for them. I get to root them on and be their cheerleader. No matter where they are on their journey, I get to witness it.
Yeah. And Buddy said it earlier as well. The whole time he was on the tour, he always had a coach. You're a coach as well. And I know it, but, for entrepreneurs, they may say that they need a business coach, or, they need a mindset coach, or, maybe they need a financial coach. Why is it so important, also, at times in life, to have someone who has the ability to be a holistic coach? Why would that matter to an entrepreneur?
Why would that matter? Oh, well, again, I think a lot of it comes back to each person recognizing that and I think you said this before, we compartmentalize everything. Everything has its own little section. And when we can come and bring it all together as the whole, then that's when an entrepreneur can recognize the importance of having a holistic coach, shall we say. The importance of it is recognizing that we are whole. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. And Buddy said this before too, in regards to, if you are holding on to something that is heavy, mentally heavy, you are not going to be able to flow in any other area of your life. I speak about our chakra system. And when one chakra is out of alignment, which is that mental thought, it then throws all the other chakras out of alignment, which then means you're not going to be able to attract your ideal client because you're distracted. And that's one of the reasons why there's so many of us that aren't in that flow of creating their best life, because they're distracted by whatever it is they're distracted by. And if we can learn to let go of the distractions and just really focus on our ideal reality of what it is we wish to create, wow, this world would be such an amazing place.
And I love it. And, you just created a case study in that short dialogue or monologue there about being stuck, because it's just those piece after piece after piece after piece that just mucks and slows you down. And, by being free and being liberated of that, you're able to get in that flow. But it takes a lot of focus, and that distraction, once it goes away, you can get there. Again, everyone, I am so excited. I am with Rev Joanne Angel BarryColon. She came all the way through Zoom to get us here today. Oh my goodness. She is a owner of Wholistic Fitness. She's an author, a speaker, an intuitive healer. I'm so glad that you're here today. You can reach her by emailing her at healingwithin76@gmail.com, or you can, she's brave enough to call at 646-236-9155. Joanne, is there any other ways that people can get a hold of you?
I think those are the best ways to reach me.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate you so much. And like I said, each and every show that you're on with me, I'm like, we're going to have to make up some time and do this again. I hope you have a great week. And I just really want to thank you for being on the show here today.
And thank you for having me. I love being in your energy. I love sharing, and it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Everyone, I want to thank again Joanne Angel BarryColon and Buddy Thornton for being on the show today. Remember, we're in that crazy state of Arizona, so we're here from 2:30 to 3:30 Mountain Standard Time, not Pacific. They're 2:30, 4:30 Central, 5, I don't know, something like that. I don't know. 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30 is when we start, but we're here Thursday each and every week. You have places to go and things to do, but you came here to do this with us, and I want to thank you for it. You guys have a great week this week. Until next Thursday, I'll see you then. Thank you.
You've been watching the Iron Entrepreneur Show, a production of the Iron Entrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.